Did you know that 90% of the world's millionaires invest in real estate? Well, I'm Angel with the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks, and I'm here to help you if you want to go for your piece of that pie. I had a friend the other day. He actually told me, he said, I've never had a coach, ever. And on your summit, what someone had to say in their presentation really spoke to me. And I just wanted to let you know that now I have a coach. And I was like, oh, wow. Because that was kind of cool to me, because I was like, oh my gosh, I made that connection for you. And he feels so good about it. And he had never had a coach before that. And so that was really neat. But I put that out there because this person is crazy successful, has many, many, many units. I say many, has a lot of units, has done several deals, like over 10 or 12, maybe even more than that. But that's just what I know of from knowing him in the past year. And so he was very successful and had never had a coach. And now he has a life coach. And so it was really cool that he had waited all that time. And he said that he just knew. And I say that because when you find the right person, you're just going to know. And when you just know, make the move. Yeah, decreasing that learning curve is huge. It's really huge. So one of the other things that I've noticed is that when you find a mentor and you find your little tribe, that I kind of equate it to being in a sorority or a fraternity. And you kind of get to ride the credentials of the group. Have y'all found that at all?
Yes, definitely. Especially because like what we were talking about a little bit before about the connections and everything like that, and the how small the multifamily space is. And so being able to have being in that tribe, and having those connections and just meeting all these different people that you wouldn't have been connected with otherwise has been really great.
Cool. So can I kind of throw the girl card out there? Do you ever feel like you're at a disadvantage being a female in this space?
Not so much. I haven't, not so much. I mean, everybody's been treating me pretty like normal. I feel like I haven't really felt too much of a disadvantage. And then, everybody is just very, very accepting and very, very helpful. And so any questions that I have or anything like that, everybody's just been very willing to answer everything. And so it's like, you don't know what you don't know. So I just keep asking the questions. And so I'm just so thankful and so grateful for the people that we've met and who's all been so willing to help and everything like that. And he's been really great too, because there's a lot of concepts that I don't understand. So I'm like, wait, what does this mean? What does this mean? And so like, he gets a lot more of the technical side of things. So that's been really great too.
Cool. Yeah. So kind of a off question, but is I don't want this to be weird, is like when you're working at NASA, is it like male dominated there as well?
There's a lot of males. Yes, it's primarily dominated by males, but I found like at least in my organization, there's a lot of females. So we have a lot of females like in the management as well. So it's been pretty good to be able to see, the women being in high power and everything like that, and striving to be as successful as they are. So that's pretty empowering.
So do you feel like moving from one male dominated area into another male dominated area was an easier transition for you?
I don't know. I don't think that really, it didn't really cross my mind too much, because in both the areas, everybody has just been so accepting and just so willing to help. And so because of that, it hasn't been really strange at all. Like I felt very, very accepted by everyone so far.
Awesome. Well, cool. Yeah, I don't really, when I decided to do the summits and I decided to get in the space, and I'm a talker. I'll talk to anybody. I love talking. I love making friends and meeting people. And it worked for us because Jason is not that way. So I can move into a group, get a groove going, and then invite him in. and then he can handle it a lot better. And so I think I was just kind of oblivious to the fact that men and women are treated differently in the space. But it's like with all the books and stuff that are coming out, like The Only Woman in the Room, and some of the other books that have come out where it's like, you know, there's so few women in the space and it's harder for us. And I think what I started thinking was, you know, why is this so much harder for females? And I know people that are doing summits that have far greater numbers than I do. And so I started to wonder if it was because I was a female. And I have to really not let that happen, because if I let that idea creep into my head, it's going to change how I present myself in the summit to others. And I don't want to do that. I always want to be me and authentically me, because that's one of my strengths. And if I ever feel like, I mean, granted, I do think it's harder sometimes as a female, because I think that, like with my grandfather would tell me, because I was raised by my grandparents, who said, you can be anything you want to be. But my grandfather was born in the 30s, and he lived through a time where women weren't seen as people that could do whatever they wanted. And so even though he told me I could be anything I wanted to be, there was still this, I guess, background that would cause his actions to not necessarily speak louder than you can be anything you want to be, but I would watch how he treated my grandmother, who, she had a job, but she was still expected to keep the house clean and to cook meals on the weekends and to do all of the household chores. He would do the outside stuff. He would do the maintenance, and then they had their own rentals and they would both take care of those. But he expected her to continue in the female role in the house. And so even though he was telling me I could be anything I want to be, I was watching something different. And so I think that even though in today's terms and, you know, in society today, even though we go out there and it's women can do whatever they want, I think there's still some glass ceiling there. And even though I'm doing summits, I've got speakers, I've got panels, I think that it's just going to be a little bit harder, because even though women are very, very knowledgeable and they know their stuff, I think that sometimes that male voice is heard better. And it kind of sucks, but, you know, I just have to, like I said, I just have to not think that when I'm doing something, because I don't want that crutch. And I'm going to work harder just because I'm going to work harder. But I want to be successful. I wish everybody could be successful, like without being prejudged by gender or any of that, if that's even occurring. I 100% believe there are people out there that it makes no difference. But there are still people out there that, you know, come from maybe not my grandfather's generation, because they're much older now, but in the 1950s, I mean, things didn't really start to change until what, the 60s, 70s, even the 80s still. So people that were really in those decades are still carrying some of those same ideas. And so it kind of stinks, but I guess it is what it is.
You just got to do you, Angel.
Yeah, I know. And y'all probably don't see that quite the same way in California, because I think California is pretty progressive as far as like male and female roles.
Yeah, I think you're going to get that kind of everywhere you go. Maybe less so in some places, but you know, you're always going to meet those types of people. You're going to get those similar types of reactions, but you know, you just got to keep moving forward.
Yeah. I don't know. It's yeah. I keep wondering, like I keep coming back to, you know, these books and these ideas and the women's groups, and I don't know, they're really strong, and the idea of women should support women, and I think we should just all support one another.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so, and I mean, I know that's like not popular. And I'm very hesitant about putting a lot of my opinions out there, because I don't have the following to have those crazy opinions. So I kind of hold back a little bit, but no, it is a male dominated space, whether you're in engineering or computer science or even real estate investing, commercial real estate investing. But I don't know, I think that it's not because females aren't willing to be out there. I think it stems back from that idea of what a female's role is, that developed way, way back when. And people can say that they've come out of that all day long, but not everyone has. So, but anyway, went off a totally different direction. So when you talk about kind of backing up just a little bit, so you go from single family to multifamily, and a lot of people do that because they see the scalability of it. What were the reasons that y'all chose to make that leap?
I think so. You can take this one.
Yes, I think at the times we also like you mentioned scalability, which is the biggest factors in our decision, and with the turnkeys, it's a little bit harder to scale fast. And the more we learn about syndications and the more we understanding the process, that's why we decided to move to the multifamily space and start investing passively. It's because of that scalability.
Yep. And then the more we're getting into the space, we're realizing that, the real estate, like when you're investing in single family, you're kind of doing it on your own. You have your property managers, you have your contractors and everything like that, but basically you're doing it on your own. But with syndication, we're realizing that it's very much a team sport. And so you have all these different connections, you're meeting a ton of people while you're doing it, you're learning from all of them. And so getting into that space has just been really, really rewarding for us, and we're really enjoying it. And so that's why we just keep getting deeper and deeper into it.
Awesome. All right. So y'all have your own podcast.
Yes.
And I know that there's a lot of people that are doing podcasts. And I'll be honest, we started doing it for 100% selfish reasons. My very first episode was, of course, I did my intro episode, but the first one after that was on time management and figuring out how to manage your time to be the most productive you can be. Because again, 100% selfish. I am not the most productive person because I do not have good time management skills. So my very first episode, 100% selfish. And continuing to do episodes, I do it for the audience. I want people to learn, but then it's a really neat way to build relationships too. You get to know people and you get to know them on more of a, hey, from the background kind of knowledge. So mine was totally selfish. What made y'all decide to go into it?
I think it was similar to your to your reason as well. We wanted to really get into learning about the syndication space and really getting into learning from the experts and having conversations with people who we otherwise wouldn't have been able to have conversations with, learning from these really, really intelligent people. And why not share it with everybody else while we're doing it? So it's been so rewarding for us.
Awesome. So let's see. Y'all's is about the first deal. Is that correct? Like you have people on that talk about their first deal, or what do they talk about?
So for the people that coming on to our podcast, they usually talk about their real estate journey and how they get to where they are today and what are the challenges that they face along the way. So we try to learn from them how what are the what that make them successful in the real estate investing business, and if they have any difficulties along the way and how did they resolve it. And we try to learn as much as possible from the experts and the professionals, and then we would like to our audience to learn along with us, like we're learning together basically.
Yeah, that's I guess kind of our tagline is we want to help you avoid some of the costly mistakes that you might make if you weren't listening to other experts that have already made those mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, actually, Marcella has a really awesome statement. She said, I'm a minority, killing it in a male-dominated environment, or killing it in male-dominated environments. She's an anesthesia. She's a certified anesthetist, and she actually has her PhD in it.
Oh, wow.
And then she was in the military, and now in real estate. And she's like, it's a mindset. Don't let old beliefs and practices influence your potential.
No, that's really great.
Wow,
Thank you.
that is profound.
Yeah.
Wow. Don't let old beliefs and practices influence your potential. Wow.
There's a quote right there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Marcella. That's
Thank you.
I needed to hear that today. I really needed to hear that today. And hopefully there's somebody else that hits a chord with too. Because it's easy, especially like, I won't lie, I'm a little bit down right now. Because I created that first email to go out to the teachers, and then I get an email back that was like, you might want to tone it down a little bit. And so I'm a little down right now. And so I needed to hear that because I think that there's a lot of ups and downs in real estate and entrepreneurship. And when you're down, it's really easy to start looking for crutches.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I've been looking for a crutch and I need to not. So I needed to hear that.
And then something one of our guests had said too, like when they were talking about, when we were asking them like, oh, how do you deal with not, when you hear no's, or when you hear like the not so positive feedback, like what keeps you going? And so something that they said that was really great was, he says, I don't really focus on the no's, I focuses on what happens when they say yes. And so those little yeses and those wins are what keeping me motivated. And I'm like, oh, that's really great, because then you don't focus on the negative side of things. But when you get that one yes, it's like a huge win, and it overcomes everything else.
Yeah, I need to think about too. So we have a friend that's moving to town from DFW because she says things are just crazy in DFW. So she's moving here, and we helped her find a house. And she texted yesterday and said, hey, do y'all want this range, this oven and range? I'm gonna have a gas line dropped, and I'm getting a gas stove. And we're like, okay. And then my husband was like, we could totally use that, because one of the houses we just bought doesn't have an oven in it, doesn't have a stove or oven. And we were like, heck yeah, we'll take you up on that. And it made me think back to that quote of, if you help enough people, you're gonna hit the top too. And so this is just kind of a check mark in that box of, we helped someone and she wound up turning around helping us too. So yeah, I gotta quit looking for crutches, dang it. So when you personally are in coming down off a high spot in this path that has lots of trenches, what do y'all do to get out of that?
One of the things actually we learned from Coach T was don't let your saboteurs get in the way of everything. So you just continuously build on your belief tables and just build up stronger and stronger legs to hold up your table. And so we've been implementing that a lot in our business and in our everyday lives. And so that's something that we've taken away, and it's been really powerful for us to use to help us keep motivated.
Yeah. And when I say that to myself, it is much more effective than when my husband says, what saboteur is going on right now? And I'm like, no saboteurs. When clearly there's a saboteur going on. But that's like telling somebody, do you need to calm down? No, I don't need to calm down. But the saboteurs is a big thing. And that is actually, if you're listening and you want to know more about it, if you go to it's is it Positive Intelligence? I think was the guy that spoke about it. He talks about the saboteurs, and you can actually take a test from his website that helps you identify what your top saboteurs are. And it is when you read it, you're like, oh yeah, that's me. And oddly enough, I want to say mine was the overachiever, which you'd be like, what? Because big ideas, I don't really think of being an overachiever, but my problem is saying no. because I want to be involved. I want to be busy. I want to be active. I want to be doing things. But because I'm into so many things and doing so much, very little actually happens. And so, yeah, I think I want to say that's my number one, along with the judgy, but everybody has the judgy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So if you have no clue what we're talking about here, go look at positive intelligence. There's a TED talk on it, or is it a TEDx? Anyway, there's something out there on it, and it changes the way you think about it. And then you realize that, like, when these things come into your mind, whether it's I'm a fraud or I'm not doing enough, you can let the idea is going to come into your head. You identify it for the saboteur that it is, and then you let it go. And it sounds super easy. It's not. I'm not going to lie. But it gets easier over time from what I have been told. I'm not there yet. But supposedly it gets easier over time. But it's just another method to help you dispel that negative self-talk and the self-limiting beliefs that come from the negative self-talk. So just putting it out there for y'all. One of the other things too that Coach T talks about is how you spend your time, and about wanting to spend your time in, like, you want to spend your time in the golden area instead of in, like,
the light
down in the green, like, just, or is it even green? No, it's brown. You don't spend your time in the brown. For many reasons that, yes, people probably follow the brown. You don't want to be in the brown. Green growth, whether it's dark green or light green, and then golden, because that's where you're growing and doing things that are more beneficial to everyone involved, whether it's mindset, like mental or physical, or so it's there's a lot of really awesome things out there. And as listeners, if y'all want me to go into that, I can, and I can absolutely get Coach T on here. He has asked me, why haven't you invited me? And it's I don't know. Have y'all invited him yet on your podcast?
Yes, he was our first one on our podcast.
Oh, how did you do that? I'm so nervous.
He's such a great guest, though, and so he's just like a wealth of knowledge, and so just having him just talk about everything is, you should have him on.
Yeah.
Well, it's like,
just do it.
And I've had this conversation too. It's like, I don't want to use it up. That probably doesn't make any sense. I'm sure it's another crutch. It's another limiting belief, that I can only have somebody on one time, because I'm sure he'd come on like once a month if I asked him. But yeah, I need to just have him on. I need to stop I'm being limiting. So, and that's another thing too, is when you're working with a mentor, they will help you identify those limiting ideas and beliefs. And I still have problems overcoming. I mean, you hear me, I'm like, oh, how did you ask him on? Because I limit myself, thinking I can't have somebody, I couldn't have him be a speaker. I mean, it's that idea of that being a fraud. And it's a scary idea.
Yeah. One of the things he says, and one of the things he teaches too, is you're not just helping yourself, but you're also helping him spread the messages to other people. And so by having him on the show, you're not just being, just having him on your show, but you're sharing with your listeners. You're sharing his knowledge with your listeners, and they're going to gain a ton of value from him. So.
Yeah. And your listeners going to be learning a lot from him.